Dave Chappelle isn't canceled, though he certainly wants you to think he is. What is up, you heathens and demons, you sinners and saints, you beautiful, blasphemous bastards? Welcome back to the Raging Atheist. I am your boy Nakasuchi, and we are winding down Content for the Godless Season 2. Almost done with it, and my sole intent at this point is to put 100% focus into Content for the Godless Season 3. Getting a bunch of those videos done before I even start releasing them, and making them real content again. And I'm looking forward to it. Now, this isn't necessarily going to be a video about Dave Chappelle's remarks in the closer. It is going to be a video about the controversy surrounding the closer. And it's going to be a video about, how I think that this is all by design by Dave Chappelle. I think that this is design controversy with the sole intent of making him more money. But I do have to say, and the focus of this video is going to be the MAGA reaction. Because MAGA, the MAGA movement, well, they are rallying behind Dave Chappelle. And I think that alone is an indicator that you might be on the wrong side of history here. Now, Dave Chappelle has recently come out on Instagram talking about the controversy surrounding the closer and talking about being canceled. And he says that certain film festivals have canceled him showing his documentary, so far untitled. But it's a documentary he was showing even before the closer came out. This is a documentary about his outdoor performances during the whole COVID-19 pandemic. And he really wants to sell this movie. Now, while saying he's been canceled from certain film festivals, he hasn't said which film festivals have canceled him. And I'm going to be quoting from an article from the Rolling Stone right now. It says, Dave Chappelle did not say which film festivals had rescinded their invitations, and a rep for the comedian did not immediately return a request for more information. Untitled, which chronicles a run of intimate outside shows Chappelle hosted last summer in Ohio during the pandemic, premiered this summer pre-The Closer at the Tribeca Film Festival. Post The Closer, the definitely quote-unquote canceled comedian will have to settle for screening the film in such lowly venues as New York City's Madison Square Garden, the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., and State Farm Arena in Atlanta. So, while Dave Chappelle certainly hasn't been canceled for his transphobic jokes, misgendering somebody he calls a friend, using that friend as his excuse to misgender that person, and then his turf inclusionary comedy, his pattern of focusing on select minority groups and using them within his comedy, and the long-running controversy of his repeated usage of the N-word, mainly coming from the black community, certain elements of the black community combating the usage of the N-word in the black community. So, there has been controversy surrounding Dave Chappelle, and a lot of times he really feeds on that. And this time is no fucking different. But this time he's doing it in a different era. And he's doing it placating to a crowd of people that have been misinformed, that are conspiracy theory minded, and have shown violence towards the United States of America. He's placating to the MAGA crowd, and the MAGA crowd is embracing him. I see it all over Facebook. Every MAGA I know is embracing Dave Chappelle. And it's happening right here on YouTube. So today we're going to be looking at Brian Craig, host of the Steve King Show, a radio show in Florida, who is a 100% MAGA dude. And he's going to be talking about Dave Chappelle, and that's where I'm going to put my focus.
Let me just finish up with this Dave Chappelle. I'm going to read an article from Vox about the Dave Chappelle special. It's a liberal online publication, Vox, and the headline is, What Dave Chappelle Gets Wrong About Trans People in Comedy. Oh yeah, so Vox is going to tell Dave Chappelle about comedy.
All right, so right away you've got Brian Craig, MAGA dude that he is, reading from this Vox article, liberal publication. So you have Brian Craig here politicizing this. You have Brian Craig here trying to cancel the quote-unquote cancel culture. Cancel the quote-unquote woke community. Cancel liberals, liberalism. Standing for equality. Civil rights. All that good shit. So he's got to politicize it. And that's what the MAGA crowd is doing. You see, Vox, whether they're liberal or not, I think that I'd probably agree they have a liberal slant. Vox is doing the responsible thing. You see, comedy no longer gets to be your excuse for your bigotry, for your biases. It's not an excuse anymore. We are going to hold you accountable. And if you have shown a pattern of it, and you show that it can be done by design, that you're going to actually profit off of it, well, the responsible thing to do would be to call that out. That's not cancel culture. That's expressing an opinion.
But Vox, this left-wing news publication, they're going to tell Dave Chappelle what he has wrong about comedy. One of the funniest 10 men that have ever lived. Now this is, I'm going to just read the article from Vox, and this is from 3-4 days ago.
For one, you don't have to be a comedian to call out a comedian for their bigotries and biases. For two, it's not just Vox, it's a lot of people. It's not just the trans community, it's a lot of people. I have seen comedians come out and just completely disown Dave Chappelle for this. Talk about how untasteful, talk about how bigoted it is. Now, that's a matter of perspective. Your perspective could be it's bigoted, your perspective could be it's not. That's not the focus of this. The focus of this is if the MAGA crowd is embracing you, if the MAGA crowd is rallying behind your cause, well, you might not be in the right. And yep, the MAGA crowd is definitely going to be trying to cancel me for this one.
Toward the end of Dave Chappelle's incendiary Netflix stand-up special, The Closer, he says something revealing about the fight he's waged against trans people. He's not waged a fight against anybody. And I find it interesting that no one's taking issue with him breaking the world record for using the N-word the most times in an hour and 12-minute special.
I mean, for one, your claim that he's not waging a fight against anybody is just ludicrous when Dave Chappelle himself says he's waging a fight against woke culture, waging a fight against cancel culture. So, I mean, that's just stupid. And then you're going to wrongly talk about the controversies. No, plenty of people have come at Dave Chappelle for a very long time. Plenty of black people, plenty of white people, plenty of everybody has come at Dave Chappelle for a really long time about his usage, his dominant usage of the N-word in his comedy. Just like they did with Richard Pryor, just like they did with Eddie Murphy. You know, this has been a thing for a long time. And just because you haven't heard it because you wasn't paying attention before, now Dave Chappelle appears to be on your side, so you're paying attention now. Just because you haven't heard it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Because it has definitely existed for like the past 10 years, 20 years or so.
He says something revealing about the fight he's waged against trans people, a fight that's drawn Netflix itself into the fray and which led to a walkout and protest against the company on October 20th. After discussing the death of his friend, a trans comedian named Daphne Dorman, who Chappelle also mentioned in his previous special, Chappelle makes a joke where the punchline is to blatantly misgender her. Then he says, I got to read this slow in case there's some words I can't use on the radio. He said, then Chappelle says, as hard as it is to hear a joke like that, I'm telling you right now, Daphne would have loved that joke.
Yes, this is the controversy. This is the latest thing that Chappelle has said. And you pointed it out right there. He intentionally misgenders somebody he calls friend. That person is dead now. Can't, maybe she wouldn't have minded. Maybe she would have. But she definitely can't speak for herself now. But you shouldn't be able to use that as an excuse for your bigotry. And we live in a different world now, although this has been coming for a long time. Again, Dave Chappelle hasn't been canceled, and neither was Andrew Dice Clay, though he faced the consequences of his quote-unquote comedy, and is widely considered still to this day to be a sexist, misogynist asshole. You see, you have the freedom to say basically whatever the fuck you want to say, but you also have the freedom to experience the consequences of that. And what Dave Chappelle is doing, in my opinion, is deliberately embracing that and utilizing it for his own gain.
What he talks about a lot is he talks about the current woke Gen X, or Gen Z. I'm Gen X. Gen Z and millennial gays and trans people compared to the Stonewall gay rights era, when people were coming out of the closet who were tough, and it wasn't cool or hip to be gay or trans back then, and people did it.
Some more MAGA rhetoric from the MAGA dude, right? Like, you know, back in that Stonewall era, back when gay people were tough, when gay people were manly. You know, these gay people now, they're just pansies. You know, back when it wasn't cool to be gay. No, back when you could be killed for it. And we've come a long way from that. And people are still getting beaten and brutalized and sometimes even killed for it. And that's why we have to combat bigoted and biased information. Bigoted and biased conversation. That's why we have to combat it. We can't run away from it like a lot of people want to do. You know, I'm not for cancel culture, but what is cancel culture? Because if cancel culture is people deciding that, no, you've went too far, well, no, that's not cancel culture to me. Does cancel culture exist? I think definitely yes. But where's the line? What is the definitions? And how does the right get away with not considering themselves to be cancel culture when they're literally trying to cancel everything liberal? I mean, do I even have to mention Colin Kaepernick?
And how this generation are just a bunch of wimps. And it is true that they do invoke their white privilege. Really what they do is they use intimidation. They use intimidation tactics against people that they don't like. The woke crowd are the anti-woke people. The woke crowd are the true bigots.
I mean, just so much wrong there. The woke crowd are the true bigots. So the people calling out bigotry, the people holding you responsible for your bigotries and your biases are the true bigots. What the fuck? But did you notice that subtle acceptance of white privilege there? But only when it's, you know, the woke white people. You know, they are the ones that get to experience white privilege. Not the MAGAs. Not those white dudes.
But I certainly would like to hear your thoughts on this. And I know a lot of MAGA people, you don't like Netflix because they made that deal with the Obamas. And I get it. But it is worth getting Netflix to see the MAGA of comedy, which I think is Dave Chappelle. I think Dave Chappelle is doing this country, doing our entire society an incredible favor by being the first person outside of the world of politics, being the first person to truly stand up against these spoiled babies in the woke movement.
And here we have it. Here we have it. The MAGA of comedy. Now, speaking for myself, if anybody ever called me the MAGA of atheism, well, it's time to change course. Now, this isn't something that I would be proud of, but I think that this was the actual design of Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle understands that there's this great demographic of idiots out there, and he wants to profit off of them. And I think he's doing this deliberately. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but it's my opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one.
And you really, truly should have a lot of respect for what he is doing. He always risks a lot. You know, he did something that was amazing. He walked away from the Chappelle Show. Was that on Comedy Channel, Comedy Central? They offered him $50 million to continue to do that show, and he walked. So he always does things that are controversial. and this is certainly one of them. But he may not realize this, Dave Chappelle, but he's MAGA. In so many ways, Dave Chappelle, he's MAGA.
He's MAGA. In so many ways, he's MAGA. You know, he left $50 million on the table for the Chappelle Show, knowing that that would cause controversy and get him a lot of publicity. And, you know, trust me, Dave Chappelle hasn't suffered. Dave Chappelle made millions upon millions on the Chappelle Show before he walked away from it. But this narrative, you know, it's getting spread and it's getting embraced. And they're literally calling him the MAGA of comedy now. And did you notice the subtle reference to right-wing cancel culture? Like, MAGAs, I know you don't like Netflix because they did that whole thing with Obama. You know, we canceled Netflix. But I'm telling you to uncancel Netflix now because, you know, they get transphobic.
He really is. And everyone, except these trans people that are upset with him now, everyone agrees he's funny and everyone likes him. So that's the way it is. So I would like to hear your calls on that. MAGA Dave Chappelle and anything else I brought up today.
No, not everybody agrees, and it's not just trans people. I am a cis white dude. I loved the Chappelle Show. I grew up on Dave Chappelle. And even I have had to just like walk away like, yeah, I'm done with that. I'm done with that. It's not funny anymore. So, good job misrepresenting the opposition, misrepresenting people calling this man out. Good job on that. And also a very great job of laying it out perfectly for me. The MAGA of comedy, MAGA Dave Chappelle, says it all. I want to thank you for watching. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share me on your social media, comment in the comment section below. Hit that bell so you're notified every time a new video comes out. Patrons, I've decided to keep Patreon up for a while. Give you guys a chance to see the new videos coming out long before they ever hit YouTube. So, you know, I'm going to keep it up for a while. We'll see where that goes. But I want to thank my patrons, especially. Your support has always been the shit. You're my #1 supporters. I love you. I'll see you soon.